Y'all, on this week, it feels like we kind of have the Avengers assembled for this review. Kind of put out all the big guns, the heavyweights, the Isaiah Rashad stans, the people who run the Isaiah Rashad stan accounts on Twitter, or who we assembled for this week's review.
I'll be sure to change my Twitter name, Isaiah Rashad stan account only.
I don't even tweet, dude.
No, but from everyone's reaction to this album so far, a week out after it coming out, I definitely think there's a common denominator about the people on this podcast. They all seem pretty happy with the turnout of the album we got last week. But in the name of healthy skepticism, we're going to review it anyway, because we've all been talking about it for the last week. So definitely stay tuned for this week, you guys. We have an Isaiah Rashad review coming of The House is Burning. We're going to do things a little bit differently just to get to it quicker. We're going to do headlines and new releases afterwards, so stick around for that if you're into it. But before we get into everything, I am Nnamdi, one of your hosts, joined by...
Yo.
I'll go.
Noah, that was you. What are you doing?
Noah's over here like, oh yeah.
You do this every week. Can you hear me? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Noah, can you hear me? Noah, can you hear me?
Us.
I can hear y'all. It's just going really slow. It's like Nnamdi. That's what it's like.
Oh,
we on lean.
But I can hear y'all. I can hear y'all now though. It's like it'll go in and out.
Okay, well, if you're listening, that's Noah.
I'm Noah. Yeah, while it's working, I'm Noah.
And then we have two special guests with us. Avery couldn't be with us this week, so he'll be back next week. But we had to get two people to fill his shoes. People with great music taste. Very excited to have them on. I'll start with Chanel because y'all know her. She's been on the pod before. Chanel, give us a little introduction.
Hey guys, so you know me, I'm Chanel. Well, you might not know me. It's okay. Again, I was here for the Tyler album review, back again for Isaiah Rashad. Amazing album, amazing artist. Very excited to be here. Thanks, 97 Demo, for letting me on.
And then our next guest is a first-time podcast. He's making his first podcast appearance. I'm very excited because he's a comedian, a musician, a songwriter, producer, a live performer, entertainer. The titles just kind of write themselves at this point. But the one and only Alex Acifo, thank you for joining us, bro.
Hey man, what's going on? It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm glad to talk music and some Zaywap.
Some Zaywap.
Some Zaywap.
I mess with that. So I mean, when we were planning this episode, it was pretty obvious that Noah was gonna have to kind of lead this one, considering he's the ultimate Isaiah Rashad stan. So I mean, at this point, it's just, bro, take it over. How are we gonna do this review?
Yeah. So, with this Isaiah Rashad review, can you guys hear me too? Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear, man.
Yo. Yeah, you sound normal.
Okay, cool. It seems like everybody can hear me. I just can't see everybody's faces moving, so I'm just gonna continue to keep talking. So that's good. Yeah. So with this Isaiah Rashad review, obviously it's been 5 years since he released his last album, The Sun's Tirade, in 2016, which came to rave reviews. I would expect from a lot of people. I assume we all loved it on this podcast. And that was his first debut album, before that was his first project that was released to anybody was Sylvia's Demo in 2014. And this album came with a lot of hype. A lot of people are excited about it. It's been 5 years, almost 5 years exactly, since the last album came out. And a lot of people were wondering where he's been, where Isaiah Rashad's been doing, And we're going to get into the music and all that. But how do you guys feel about how long it's been since he's released music? It's been 5 years. Like, I get artists wanting to wait and stuff like that. But even me, I like artists waiting. But 5 years was even a long time for me in terms of him coming out with music. And how do you guys feel about that, about how long it's been? Do you feel like it's been too long? Do you feel like he came at the right time? Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think 5 years is too long, personally, because I know, just with conversations with, y'all, we've been like, okay, but where's Isaiah Rashad? Where's Zay? Where's this? Where's that? I will say, though, after a 5-year wait, I am glad that the project was as good as it was, because I would have been really mad if we would have waited 5 years and then the project wouldn't have been, up to par for that. You know what I mean? But like 5 years, that's a while. Like, Zay, you had your fans out here wondering where you were, if you were good, what was going on. Like, that's a long time to just be MIA.
I find that 5 years feels like it's become the standard time for like a music hiatus. Like it's been 5 years since Rihanna. Like I think Kendrick had like a 5-year-ish gap at one point. You know, so I think waiting always sucks, but to me, when a big wait only ever increases the risk for the musician, because then it's like people have been waiting half a decade for my music. So if it doesn't deliver, you know, I could imagine you feeling way more pressure the longer you wait in between releases. You know, and I guess we'll talk about this more in the review, but you know, during that 5 years, he was going through some stuff. So, you know, it wasn't like he was just sitting around chilling. Like there was, I guess, ample time for personal reflection and like, you know, some work, you know, he talks about drinking problems and like a drug problem and like, you know, people kind of dogging him at TDE and, you know, so a lot was going on. I wish a little bit more of that made the music, but I mean, again, we'll save that for the review.
Yeah, Alex, how do you feel about that? You're a big fan. How do you feel about him waiting 5 years? Because for me, I remember I was like, last year or even the year before, I was like, he has to come out. Like, he kind of has no choice. Yeah. I was like, he kind of has to. So he was kind of getting forgotten about. So how do you feel about that?
Then we waited 2 more years after you said that. No.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I remember seeing I remember the Suns tirade. I remember seeing him in 2017 in Baltimore, and he's in my top 3 favorites of all time. So there was kind of like that. Oh, like where has he been? But I know that he's been going through stuff. But I also feel like 5 years feels like a TDE drop. You know, between J-Rock, SZA, we haven't had a SZA album in a while. Kendrick, we don't know if we're going to get another album from him. But with Isaiah Rashad, it seems like he's not too overzealous to get into the spotlight and really be out there. And with the project that came out that I thought was really good, it kind of feels like I wasn't even waiting. It just feels like, forget all that now. We got it now.
Like it was worth it.
It was worth the wait.
And no, can I just say now that I think about it, 5 years seems to be the TDE norm, because to Alex's point, both SZA and Kendrick, I think, dropped in 2016. So it's been 5 years now since that. And I think J-Rock, Schoolboy Q, like all of them. That's like, maybe that's just like a label norm at this point, like the half a decade wait between them.
Not necessarily, because Schoolboy dropped in 2016 and then again in 2018.
That's true.
So I don't necessarily know that it's a norm, but maybe they're just like, as a label, if you're like putting work into your craft and it takes longer than whatever, let's say 2 years. Like I know that all of us like kind of a 2-year break from artists, but like let's say 2 years. Maybe they're more flexible with that than like other labels may be. So I don't want to necessarily say like it's a standard, but you never know. You don't know what's exactly going on behind those closed doors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely let the artists take their time, because like, yo, he could have dropped a year after and made a coloring book. I'm just saying.
That's real.
He could have dropped. True. What was the last one? Big Day. He could have dropped Big Day. So I'm just thankful that he took his time. You know, that is a conversation for another day.
Yes, sir. Noah, you may be muted.
I am muted. Thanks, bro. You know what's so interesting about this, you know, thinking about Big Day is, you know, with Big Day, it was like a lot of them were freestyles and stuff like that. And like, you know, a lot of the music writing, there wasn't a lot of music writing and thought put into this. Reading the articles about this, when like, let's actually get into the music, it was actually like Isaiah Rashad said, like 60% of this album was freestyles. Like he said that. He was like 9 to 3 freestyle was obviously freestyle. He said songs like Claymore, Hey Mister, True Story, songs I was like, wow. The last song, HBTU, Happy Birthday to You, I was like, that was a freestyle, which is kind of incredible. So getting into, exactly, especially that last song. Getting into music, how do you guys, when you guys first put on the album, and you guys were like, play Dark Side, what were your thoughts? Because when I heard Dark Side, I was immediately hooked, and I was like, this is gonna be a good album. I was kind of like pretty much on it for the rest of the album. So how about you? How do you guys feel about the project when you first put it on? First impressions?
I would just say for me, I was coming back from a Flying Lotus concert, so my eardrums were already just destroyed. But I was like, nah, that Isaiah Rashad just dropped, and I put it on. I heard what I was supposed to do outside but get rich, and I was like, damn, this has a great intro feel to it. The production is A1. I'm along for this ride, you know. So that's just how I felt about it. I felt like I was taken along for a ride, and I was like, you know what, dog, I'm with you.
With you, totally, 100%. What about you, Chanel?
So when I heard Dark Side, I was like, okay. Like, I was like, all right, this is, like, I really agree with what Alex said. This is a great intro song. Like, it really made me interested in the album. Now, I will say, like, I had heard, what was it, 3 or 4 songs that had dropped. So, like, the next song, I mean, I know we're not getting into the whole, like, review, but, like, I felt like that was a great segue and a great introduction for, like, this project. And then when I continued to hear the rest of the project, because I listened to it all at once, I was on my way to work. And which is another thing I like about it. I was like, left my house, got to work as the album was ending. It was perfect. But like, I was like, all right, this is like the kind of vibe you get. And it wasn't even the kind of vibe that you get from every song on the album, which I also like. But I was excited about it. I was still kind of waking up because it was 7 a.m, but it made me excited for the album.
Very good. What about you, Nnamdi? What was your first impression when you first put on the album?
No, I'm gonna cite a tweet from you. I feel like I'll never forget when the album dropped at midnight, and by 12:01 you were on Twitter talking about this is the best thing I've ever heard, and I was like, wait, that means the intro track is great.
I was the next morning too. I was like, damn, like, can we let it
came out 4 minutes ago. How do you know it's that good,
bro? Like, can we add the seasoning to it, please? Like, something.
I was the Michael Jackson gif. Like, this song is so good. That was me.
Like, I bring that up because I understand why. Because I feel when I first listened to Dark Side, you immediately realize it's a good song. Like 2 minutes into the album, you're excited because the production's A1. I find that with this album, the production definitely carries. I feel like that's pretty fair to say. Like, if anything, I actually think you may hurt yourself if you start like doing what we typically do for reviews and going to Genius and like going bar from bar, trying to find like witty ad libs, because this album may not be that, but it sounds good. That's the overall theme of it. Like, no matter what the specifics are, it sounds good. And that starts on this song where immediately it's like, the vibe is there. It's just groovy.
It's sonically pleasing, man.
Sonically pleasing. It's really
so sonically pleasing. You don't even care what's being said because you just know it sounds right and it feels good. And I think, you know, that encapsulates sort of the whole album and this song.
But then you do hear what he says, and it's not like he's saying dumb stuff. Like, you can actually, like, the thing is, like, you really get into it. Like, that second and third listen when you're like, you know, actually trying to learn the words, not just listen to a song to see if you like it. That's when you're just like, okay.
Let me say,
right?
On
like,
this
I feel you. Like,
song,
that's why I'm saying, like, this is a really great introduction to the album, because it is one of those songs that just hooks you in and that you can genuinely enjoy in all aspects. Like, on your second listen, your third listen, you're on your 16th listen, and you're still really enjoying the song.
This bar is hard. So I'll say, like, on this specific song, this chorus, like, the first thing you get, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do outside but get rich? Work your hard, but boy, don't floss too hard and get your wigs. But like, that sounds hard. That's hard. You're right. No one's gonna take that away from Isaiah Rashad.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah,
I was shocked he's like a comic book guy, because at first I was like, Dark Side, he's like just spelling it weird, but then he was actually referring to like the comic book villain. He says New Gods, which is like a DC Comics thing, you know, nerd stuff. But I really, it's so interesting because this song, the beat by itself is like kind of menacing, and if it was anybody else, it would have been like a hard song, but Isaiah just like kind of vibing to it just the whole time, you know. And that's the feel he gives to the whole album. That's kind of like what his fans want, especially me. I that's what I want. So I thought it was perfect intro of what he was trying to do. How do you guys feel about, because I've also heard you know, getting into the rest of the album, we talked about the intro a lot. I've heard a lot of people say, man, I think the album's great, but Isaiah Rashad, him personally, he's not giving a lot energy wise other than like From the Garden. You know, you're getting that a lot from the features and, you know, Duke Deuce and J-Rock and other artists on there. I Am Doche, I don't know how to say her name. Other artists, stuff like that. YG. How do you guys feel about that? About Isaiah Rashad's delivery in terms of him not being the most like upbeat on this album? How do you guys feel about that? Because I've heard that as a criticism.
I think. Oh,
no, go ahead.
And I would say I think he did his thing. I mean, his lyrics were almost to the point kind of intelligible, but I feel like that was intentional, like how he did that. And he had like his features in the production kind of carrying him. But I feel like he did his thing, you know. He had his Giannis performance, you know, he dropped 50 at the end of the night, but he still had his Chris Middletons, you know, he had his role players, he had his Drew Holidays to assist and give him alley-oops, you know, back doors, you know. So at the end of the day, he got the job done. And I think that he picked his features very well as his production. So even though it's not as introspective as his past albums, I still appreciate what he did on this album a lot.
And also, I feel like you kind of like if I put on Isaiah Rashad, I kind of I look forward to him slurring on the songs. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like, no, and I always say like he's the best of like the mumble rappers, right? So like, yeah, you might not be able to understand what he's saying, but he's the only one that's like can be smooth yet mumbling on an upbeat song. It's like such a different mix of things that you enjoy it. But I mean, I don't expect him to be hype on like every single song. And also, I don't think it's only from The Garden that I would say he's like being hype on the song. Like which one is it? Let me look at the thing. Like 9-3 freestyle.
Yeah,
9-3 freestyle. Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, Mister.
But like, yeah, like I feel like it's very unfair to say that he's just being like kind of slow or like, no, what was the word that you just used? Like just.
I mean, people saying his delivery isn't like really, yeah, he's really relaxed on the album, stuff like that.
He's a relaxed guy.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
Well, look, according to that Fader
so
interview,
what are you expecting here?
I don't know, Shana. I feel like, well, first, I'll say two things. One, I feel like one really underrated talent in music is vocal arrangement. And I feel like I've learned by watching like Travis Scott and your like even J. Cole and your Kanye West that sometimes having the air for like how, you know, how your vocals should sound specifically and where it should fall with production and how that balance should sound. Like that's a talent within itself. And I think Isaiah Rashad strikes me as someone who's probably really good at vocal arrangement, which goes into production. So he may view his voice as just like another element of the overall music production as more than like, you know, the lyrics that sort of guide everything. We're like, you know, the true core of whatever song you're doing.
I agree with that totally.
I don't think it's surprising to hear that like a lot of these were freestyles, which I do have mixed feelings about, but you can sort of tell just like in his cadence and the vibe and, you know, some of the lyrics themselves that like, okay, you weren't sitting down like, you know, with headphones on, like really trying to write some stuff going crazy. Like these are probably just freestyles, which is fine because I think you go to different artists for different things. And for Isaiah Rashad, I don't think his fan base always necessarily expects the like super witty, crazy bars, like, you know, hard rapping, like, like, I don't know if you go to Isaiah Rashad for that, you know? So I think this is sort of within his wheelhouse. So it's not the most surprising, but I could understand why you may want more after waiting 5 years. So I kind of get both sides.
I agree with you on the point of like his voice kind of blending in with the music. I think he does that perfectly throughout the project. Another thing I really like about the project is like, obviously, you know, Isaiah Rashad's from Chattanooga, he's from the South, but he really incorporates that into his music in terms of like the samples or like some of his references, like obviously R.I.P. Young. I believe that's like a 3 6 Mafia sample in the background. I forgot the exact song, or like a Juicy J sample in the background, which I really love. R.I.P. Young is one of my favorite songs on the album in terms of him doing it. And obviously, like I forgot the other song. What's the song?
Lay With You, I think also was another one from 3 6 Mafia.
Yeah, exactly. And what's the one where he's like, I would still be around Mercedes. What's that song? Is that?
With YG Tut.
Oh, that's a Chad. That's a Pimp C. That's a Pimp C reference. Yeah, with YG Tut. Yeah. That's a Pimp that. So I really like how he incorporates like his Southern inspirations throughout the albums, which he's done before, but I really love how he does it on this. So I'm really a big fan of that. It kind of feels like an evolution of like Southern music, because when you think of, like, it's not a bad thing, but like right now when you think about South, you think about trap. You just think about trap, you think about, the trappiest thing ever. But Isaiah Rashad's more like of the old school, not in a bad way, but like in the old school South, but making it his own, which I really, really do respect and enjoy throughout this. Even on True Story, it sounds like some Southern stuff. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I really love how he does that.
I have a question for you. So with him being from Tennessee, and I feel like people often forget, it's like Tennessee is they're kind of popping right now.
Shout out
between Key Glock, Young Dolph,
Moneybag Yo.
Moneybag Yo. Are y'all surprised? Yes, I'm saying, are y'all surprised that he doesn't have any other Tennesseans on here?
High key.
Oh,
yeah, I'd say that.
You know what's so interesting though? He's from. That's all those people we talk about from Memphis. He's like from Chattanooga. I remember I read he's like the only dude from Chattanooga, like really representing that like city other than YG, which is like in his collective. But like, I am surprised he doesn't have like any of those guys on here. Actually, I thought he would. But he's. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I thought you were keep on going. Finish your.
No, I was just gonna say, like, even though he's from Tennessee, he's not really from that side. So I was like, it's interesting because like, you don't think of him as like he's from Tennessee. He says it all the time, but people don't think of him as like a Tennessee guy. Maybe because he's just on TDE. Maybe because he's just like with all these West Coast people all the time. I don't know what it is. But
I think that's it. One, I don't think people necessarily would guess that he's from Tennessee. And then also, I would say, as much as I would love to,
5-hour drive.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as people would like, I could see why people would want another Tennessee act on here. I don't think any of them would fit, just stylistically.
I was about to say that now.
Like, it would be hard for me to imagine like Moneybag Yo or like Yo Gotti or like Young Dolph on like any of these tracks.
But Uzi didn't fit, to me personally.
What'd you say? Who?
Yeah,
Uzi.
Alex, my guy.
No.
You said he didn't fit?
Crazy.
I don't think he did his thing.
Wait, okay, then wait.
Maybe that's because he introduced the song talking about Chanel. Like, maybe that's what. Nah, I'm sorry.
Why don't we talk about From the Garden?
From the Garden. I almost said For the Garden.
I think the interesting thing about From the Garden.
I don't know about that, Alex.
I didn't know From the Garden was teased years ago. Like this, apparently, I was looking through Genius. It was teased back in 2017. So this song itself has been around for a minute.
It was a serviceable verse, but I was still wanting more from Uzi.
What else did you?
I wanted to hit my shoulder. I didn't.
Like energy wise, Alex. Like more energy from him. Like what more?
I feel energy wise because I feel like Isaiah Rashad. It seemed like Isaiah Rashad just had like these two great verses and the energy was there. It was just like, Uzi, throw your verse in. And Uzi was just like, all right, I'm gonna plug my verse in here, and that was it. And it just felt like there was this gap. Honestly, it might have been better without Uzi in that.
No.
A shorter song.
When Uzi came on and he was like, what was it that he said? He's like, that's a lie. Like that part, I don't know the words yet. I'm still trying to learn the words. But at like that whole like bar, I was just like that's when I was like, when you make that ugly face, like that nasty face, I was like, oh my God, like he went crazy on this. And I literally was just saying like, Uzi, I love Uzi on a feature. I will most likely not listen to an Uzi like album, but on a feature, he goes nuts. I was like he just followed up like his Tyler feature with this.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That verse was crazy.
Crazy. And like that's literally how I've got the same kind of feeling about like his verse on here.
Right.
Like I was just like, cause where is it right here? Oh yeah, he was like, I'm trying to get all the motherfucking cheese. Wherever you be. That's that for me. That was like the little shoulder thing. That's when I was like, oh, okay. Like he's talking his shit. All right. Like that is Uzi went crazy. You tripping on this one, Alex. I'm gonna have to
I kind of get you that like it feels like they just plugged it in. Like I get that because I think he said this is an old song. Like obviously he had this song for a while and Uzi was like, hey, I want to do something. He kind of put him on this. But I think it worked. I really think it worked. For this especially like in terms of like energy wise, although he has like other songs where it's high energy, this is like the highest energy song on the project, which I thought was actually perfect. But I thought Uzi fit personally, but I feel you though. I feel you. It was like it's cool as that. I'm cool with it, but
I think I was just
I feel you.
comparing his verse on Tyler's album to this album. And I loved his verse on
Then
Tyler's
there's
verse
no
on
question.
Tyler's album is superior to this one.
Yeah,
No
I agree.
But Alex, can I say I get what you're saying? Like, I think it would have been nice. I think Uzi kind of maintained the energy level, and I wish he could have raised the energy level if that made sense. Like, so I think that's what I think, you know. And I kind of know, to your point. Well, not to your point. I kind of hate that this is where like the sole sort of burst of energy throughout the album comes. Like, there's other high-paced songs, but this song is sort of like that this is as high as it's gonna get. And I hate that you hit that on song number 2 on this album.
Yeah, some people said it feels like it kind of sets them up. Like, you get the first song, then the second's like, oh crap, this is it. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna get a couple more of these. And even though there's other high points like Lay With You, which are still upbeat, but you don't necessarily get that from Isaiah on here. You know, from Isaiah on From the Garden, Isaiah is the most upbeat he is on the whole album. Obviously on Lay With You, it's an upbeat song, but Duke Deuce is the one that brings that energy.
Duke
Deuce. Yeah, and well, obviously, you know, all the singles are good. Nnamdi mentioned before he thinks all the singles are better in the context of the album, which I actually totally agree with you.
It's one of the rare albums that I feel that way about. Like, every single I enjoyed more after listening to it on the album, like doing a listen through. And I don't often feel that way about projects, but I just thought they were all pretty strong on their own.
The only one I think I'm going to disagree with you on that is what you said, because I don't think what you said really fit with where it is in the album, which, like, one of my biggest issues with the album is I don't think that the track list flows together.
The sequencing?
Yeah, the sequencing. Like, I don't think, like, I know we keep going back to Tyler's album, but that's because, like, that's just one that I really love, because about that album, I think every song was, like, placed very precisely. It was there for a reason. I don't get that from this album. Like, I don't think, for example, what is it? I think it was Score that I was like, you know, that could have done, well, I don't really like that song that much anyway, but like that could have gone somewhere else in the album and probably would have been more impactful, and that would have made the last like 4 or 5 songs, I think those would have just flowed perfectly right into each other. So I don't think as much care was put into this album in terms of like the sequencing.
Can I ask y'all about Score?
That's just my thoughts.
Yeah,
Look at Alex's face. He's like, really?
So,
go ahead now.
Wait, no, actually, Alex, I want to hear what your response to that is, because you was making a face.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, like, what percentage of people do you think listen to this on shuffle or listen to this all the way through, like, traditionally?
I just feel like first time listen, you have to do all the way through. But that's just my religious belief.
Yeah.
I don't know if other people share that. I'm like, when a new album drops, the first listen I feel has to be start to end.
Like, who's listening on shuffle first? Like, even second, third, like, who is doing that? Like, that is some serial killer type stuff. Like, why? You won't, like, I feel like if you listen to an album on shuffle, like the first 3 listens, then you're not gonna like the album. I don't care, like, you're just not going to appreciate it for what it is. I didn't even start listening. I really don't listen to the album on shuffle now. I might go to specific songs and be like, oh, I want to hear this song next. Oh, I want to hear this song next. But like, I really haven't listened to it on shuffle like that.
Yeah.
I could see people, like, if they're just trying to, like, Isaiah, like, let's hear that new album. I can see people put it on shuffle because it is an album you can kind of shuffle and just kind of be cool with it. But me, I'm just the kind of guy that like likes to listen to albums straight through if I like really enjoy it, and I do enjoy this album. But I do see people like really just like, let me put it on shuffle and bam, just kind of going through it, and then like they'll skip songs like, I don't feel like hearing that right now. I see people doing that, especially with the album like this, you know, especially if you're just vibing or, you know, just chilling with your friends at somebody's, you know, spot or something like that. I can definitely see that people doing that, and that's not an abnormal thing. I remember Avery, who's not here, he says he does that all the time. Just see if an album's good, he'll put an album on shuffle just to make sure every single song's really good. So
and like the first 2 listens,
not the first 2 listens, like when he's like after listening to it to a while and he's like, oh
well, yeah.
Oh well, yeah, that makes sense.
That's different. Like I just feel like when you're, especially if it's a new drop from an artist you like, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not listening to it.
I agree.
Exactly.
In order.
I agree.
But I wanted to ask y'all specifically, I feel when I got the track list, one of the songs I was the most excited about was Score, because it featured SZA and I hate calling him Six Flag because he says he's black, but at this point, I'm sure he's cool with it.
Yeah.
How did y'all feel this? Do you think this song, mind you, I did like every song on this album, but for a song that had Isaiah Rashad, SZA, and Six Flag sort of lived up to its full potential?
I wish Six Flag was taken off and SZA had another verse. I wish SZA was more involved on the track. That's what I wish.
My thing is, I wish
Six
SZA
Flag
was more involved,
Black
but
was
I like
fine.
Six Flag's verse.
I like SZA's verse more. I really enjoy SZA's verse a lot more on here. And SZA and Isaiah Rashad just have like a great chemistry. And I just wish there was like another more SZA, and she just did the whole chorus and everything like that. So I don't know. It was fine, but I wish SZA was more on the track. Like SZA's my favorite part of this particular song. Her verse is my favorite part of this song. So that's how I feel.
I'd say, are we about to say something now?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Now I was just gonna say that I think this is the most Isaiah Rashad song of the album. Like Sylvia demo, a little bit of Sun's Tower, but this reminded me the most of Sylvia demo, especially with the SZA feature and the production as well, which is why I liked it, but it's also why I felt like it didn't really fit the album that much. I feel like it stood out a lot, like over here, like the album's over here, and scores over here somewhere. But it was very Sylvia demo-ish.
Yeah, I feel you. It definitely feels like a single. Clearly, SZA's a huge artist. Black is a big art, is a well-known artist. It feels like a single that it feels like the song if like radio mattered, but it feels like, oh, this song's for the radio. Obviously, it's not. I don't think it's gonna be a single, but it still could be. But it feels like, oh, we're trying to get radio. Let's see if this song could and stick with this song. I want to ask you guys the last two tracks, because I thought personally, I feel like he ended this album perfectly. I thought it was I think it's the best outro Isaiah Rashad's had. How do you guys feel about the title track and the last two tracks of how he finished off the album? Because I thought he finished it off perfectly personally. How do you guys feel about that?
When I actually first heard the album, because like I said, I was driving, so I wasn't really paying attention to the names of the songs. I thought they were all one song, just a long song. And I absolutely love these last two songs.
Yeah, because the last track flows into the second to last track flows into it. Like if you listen to it, it's like some of the second to last song is in the beginning of the last song. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just how we were talking about the way he introduced the album. I cannot think of a better way for him to have closed this album.
Totally agree.
Especially with Happy Birthday to You, and he's like, but I'm still on drugs. I was like, oh my God. This is literally what I wanted out of an Isaiah Rashad album. That's what I'm getting from, well, I get that from other songs in the album too, don't get me wrong, but these last two songs, I was like, this is what I was looking for. This is what I waited 5 years for. This is exactly what is going to make this a great album. Not a good album. This is a great album to me. And it was literally these last two songs. Happy Birthday to You is incredible. That's I don't know if that's my second or my third favorite song, but it's top 3, period. It's so good.
With Happy Birthday to You, I personally like that beginning part the most, that first half of the song, because it's just Isaiah Rashad does this a lot. He tells these really personal stories that's not super clear. With the Kendrick album, he'll have this whole narrative, and you're like, oh, this is what's happening. Good Kid, Mad City is this is what's happening. This is who the people are. These are the characters. Here's your story. Isaiah Rashad here, he's telling the whole story, but it's not really clear. But the first, he's clearly talking about family. Clearly, he's talking about my auntie put sugar in the greens. That's that shit I never seen before. That's a really personal, playful thing, and that I really like. It just sounds like he's talking about family. And I really enjoy that first part of the song, which is my favorite part, because obviously throughout the whole album he's really mumbling a lot, but this is where he's super clear. I feel like that first part, that's the clearest he is on the whole album in terms of what he's saying. He's really particular on what he's saying. He's really clear on what he's saying, which he doesn't always do. And I was surprised that he said he freestyled this part. I don't know if I feel like he's talking about that last part he freestyled, even though he's not really rapping, he's kind of just singing. But I feel like that first part, I'm surprised if he said he freestyles that part, I'd be shocked because he sounds really particular on what he's saying and the story he's telling throughout that first part of the song. So, Alex, how do you feel about the last two tracks now I finished it? So, especially that last track.
Yeah. I think the last two tracks were just a good write out. Like for me, I like those kind of songs. Like most notably for me is like 30 Hours by Kanye, where it just seems like I can just play this on a Sunday and, just sit down, just chill, like go for a walk. And I feel like, you gave me this album, you let me in, I was along for the ride with you. And now it's kind of just a write out where you kind of just summarize everything. Even though I would have wanted more on these last two songs from Isaiah Rashad to feel something, because I feel like he gave me a piece of that on his last two albums, whether he's talking about or goes more in depth about his alcoholism, his father. He didn't mention his father too much, man. I was trying to hear about, how his father left him again and, had a stepson and stuff like that. So I guess to get more personal, but I appreciated these last two tracks for what they were.
Got you. What about you, Nnamdi?
So this actually reminds me of a conversation I had with Alex, and it was part of the reason I wanted him on here, and it was because I had spoke to you about the album, just got your opinions, and you were like, I think I was like, oh yeah, like it was fire, I like every track, and you were like, yeah, but like I kind of wish it had more substance. And that was the moment I was like, does it have substance? And like it changed the way I listened to it, just because I think over the last 5 years he's been through a lot, right? Like he's told us like he went through a lot over the last 5 years. And I get not every artist wants to put their personal stuff in their music, and sometimes they just want to have fun. But after waiting 5 years for music, I kind of would have liked just a tad bit more substance and just personal like reflection in your music. Like, this is how you express yourself. I wish you could have got it out there. So that was just sorry. I'm losing my train of thought. But that was just one thing. That was just one thing that I kind of like thought would have been like a nice addition to add. But these last two songs specifically, I would say I think is kind of the closest we get to any of that, especially specifically
I agree.
The title track, The House is Burning, which just from the name of the album, The House is Burning, to me that sort of implies like a chaotic feel to it. Like there's panic, there's like things aren't okay type of thing. You don't really get that from so much of the album because it's so relaxed. But once you get to the title track, he's talking about like, this is about addiction. Like the chorus is, who's creeping in my window, who's messing with my conscience. It talks about drinking. I don't even like Henny. F it. Like it's about addiction, and I feel like that's one of the few songs that you can say, okay, pull through. This is probably a little bit more intimate to him and more vulnerable. The same thing with the next song, Happy Birthday to You. Like Noah said, it's about like you get more of the family feel, a little like personalization, like reflection about his experience. I just wish the album had more of that, because it would have made, like, it was a good album, right? So I'm okay with the 5-year gap, but it would have made that wait even sweeter if you knew on the other end of it you were getting to know your favorite artist a little bit better, if that makes sense.
What's like,
also,
what?
Go
ahead. You got it.
Okay. I do want to pose a question to the group. So Sun's tirade, I feel like, was very expressive, where he discussed like, contemplating suicide, like drinking, drugs, went deep into like depression, at like all those kinds of things, right? And like you learn he was not good. Like he was not good. This album is less expressive. And now Isaiah Rashad, I feel like he's not overtly like putting out on social media, for example, like how he's doing. He's not that kind of celebrity in general. Like, could less expression mean that he's possibly even doing better mentally? I'm not saying that is the case. You never know, but like just throwing that out there, maybe like he didn't need to be as expressive on this album. Maybe he wanted something where he could, just be more relaxed and like just
ride it out,
genuinely like himself. Like I feel like that's how like Schoolboy Q on Crash Talk, Like it was way less expressive than Blank Face was. But like, you know, he was just having fun. Maybe this is Isaiah Rashad's like having fun album. Sylvia Demo was also like very like expressive and like about, you know, suicide and depression and how angsty. Like maybe this is like the more
angsty.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe this is just more like right, like, you know what I mean? Like it's still, like, and it's still showing like, yeah, I'm going through stuff, but like we could come out busting, like we could do that.
I think and I think that speaks to like, oh my bad, go ahead.
Oh, me? No, I wasn't saying that. I was singing the lyrics.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was saying because this kind of speaks to like the song, the album making process, because he says like he did this whole album sober, like he wasn't drinking, he wasn't on drugs, all that stuff. He said he did it only. He said he said other than smoking, but he wasn't like addicted to like, you know, he wasn't, you know, drinking, he wasn't drunk doing these. He said a lot of the time when he was doing these, he was drinking, he was taking drugs just to, you know, get the vibe going or get, you know, get himself loose is what he said. But he said with this is him sober. And, you know, obviously there was a lot of turmoil between these albums, but he said before Sun's Tirade, like he almost got dropped from TD. Like he talked about, he said like, yeah, I almost got dropped from TD. There was a lot of things going on before that. It feels with this one, he had stuff going on, but this is like, then he got better. And then he's like, you know, I just want to make an album where I'm kind of relaxed. And it's kind of interesting because like The House is Burning, that's the name of the album. But he's kind of like,
there's a disconnect between that and the album itself.
It sounds like it's a house party.
Yeah, and you know it's so interesting because like it feels like that meme where like the guy's sitting in the fire. I forgot what the meme. He's like, oh, everything's okay.
Like, everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. That's Isaiah Rashad.
That could actually just be how he's feeling too. I mean, if you're battling addictions and stuff like that, like that's not an easy thing to deal with every day, but it's not like you always have to go into that side of you either. So it's like, Nnamdi, I do get what you're saying, but I just wanted to, you know me, I like to get under your skin, like make you think about things.
No, you're not even getting under my skin, because I think that's a very fair point. And I don't think all artists have to always make that deep album, right? I think everyone always has room to make whatever they want. It's about artistic expression. And I'm with that.
I feel like he's done it already. I
just think my brain, the way it functions, I try to build connections. And I think it's like, you read the Fader piece about how tumultuous the last 5 years has been. You see that it's called The House is Burning. And I think because of that, I crave just a tad bit more substance, you know? Yeah. So when you have a 16-track album,
I feel like he's done that already.
The tracks are like a little bit more laid back and relaxed and just freestyles. You know, sometimes I just kind of wish, you know, a little bit more, you know, there was a little bit more oomph to some of the songs.
I would also speak to the expectations that he set with previous projects too. Like, you know, you kind of expect, like, I mean, he had a song called Rope, so but like you might come to expect that of him, and like he didn't want to give this, which I'm like, personally, I'm very okay with not getting that through the entirety of the album. You know, this is a more laid back, like it seems fresher almost. Like
he sounds super comfortable. He sounds super comfortable throughout the whole project. Even though other songs. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, from somebody like Isaiah Rashad. Say that.
Oh, go ahead.
It's only lacking for you, Noah.
it's only for me. It's only for me. I just keep talking.
But no, I was saying, like, when I listened to Isaiah Rashad, I listened to it for the angst, you know, because that's who I would go to when I was down and be like, all right, Isaiah Rashad's talking that shit. Picture you go home and you that nigga, but can't pay your bills. You can't buy no diapers for your little one. I would be off of work and I'd be like, yo, I feel that shit. Even though I don't have a kid, I still feel that.
Yeah.
And it's like, he kind of had like that very aggressive consciousness kind of music. And I could learn things about him. And from reading the Fader piece and listening to the song, it's like, nigga, I ain't learned nothing. Like I've learned more from his tweets. Like he tweeted like the other day, don't, you know, go drunk and speed crazy like I did. And it's like, wow, I've learned so much about you in 140 characters than I have, you know, on these 16 tracks. You know, even though I'm appreciative of the music that you've given us.
I don't know. I feel like I feel y'all on this, but I feel like we've already learned. Like I feel like I know him. Like obviously, like that you know, going back to that first song, he talks about like his baby mom. He's talking about his dad. You know, he talked. You know, you mentioned all these lines and stuff. I feel like we already know kind of his whole thing right now, and I'm kind of with you, but I kind of disagree.
What
with
do you
like,
mean by his whole thing? I don't mean to cut off, but I want to push back because the story he told on like maybe Sylvia's demo that was years ago. So you know, there's still
hold on. I got you. I'm talking about in terms of his. I'm saying his backstory, like where he came from, what his upbringing is, and then obviously with like Son's Tirade. I think with this, a lot of the same issues he's had previous has kind of repeated himself, because obviously he talks about, even before this album, he said, yeah, I had to go to rehab and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like he just didn't want to repeat himself with the same things. And I feel like he was really expressive and really, I'm trying to think of the word, transparent of like what he was going through during those times before. I don't necessarily think he had to do it again. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think he wanted to go through that again, because obviously during recording those last albums, he was not sober. During this album, he was sober, and you're going to get a very different Isaiah Rashad on that. And Isaiah Rashad, you might get a more upbeat, happy Isaiah Rashad. Obviously with those albums, he's very depressed and, you know, really emotional. And you get that on those albums. With this one, he's not as emotional. And maybe that's what comes from this. I think it's fair to say you didn't learn a lot, or you didn't learn about what he's going through. But I don't necessarily think it was necessarily a negative for him. You know what I'm saying? I get that's something you might want, but I don't necessarily think it's a negative for him.
I do think it impact the longevity of this album.
That's fair.
Opinion, hot take.
That's fair. But even though it feels like this is his most popular album so far, you know, but
yeah.
Well, but I think it's the most popular album after.
Type popular.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like, it was still a 5-year wait for an incredibly talented artist, so the pre-sale was going to happen regardless. I'm pretty sure those shows were sold out before the album even came out. Like, that was going to happen. It
was.
Like,
the shows were sold out before that.
I think there's still excitement for an Isaiah Rashad project regardless. But I think when it actually came out, as much as I love the production and I love the songs, if the substance isn't there, I don't know how long I'll feel that way. Like, by the end of the year, when there's other music,
you mean the longevity of the album?
Exactly, like I said, yeah. Like, I don't know if I'll feel as excited as I do about it now in a couple of months, because there's not a amount of substance to hold on to. That's all. Now go on.
Let me pose this question to you, Nnam, because talking a lot about his background, I think Alex said that like he wanted to hear more about like his dad or something like that. If he would have done more of that on this album, then the criticism would be, you've talked about this before.
I don't think that's true.
We've done that. Like, I'm not saying, I'm just saying like that is something that he has discussed previously. How much more of that? Because you gave Nicki Minaj this criticism, you and I just talking, because you were like, how long is Nicki Minaj going to talk about her pussy?
I don't think I said it in such a
We're not gonna go back. We're not gonna go back. We're not gonna go back.
To our corporate sponsors listening to this, I don't use vulgar language like that. To our sponsors who are hearing this. No,
I'm sorry.
Okay, but the thing is, Chanel, my answer to that would be, it's sort of, one, Isaiah Rashad wasn't writing a journal entry when he talked about his dad before. We don't know everything about that. He just gave us a couple bars about it and a couple tracks, and like, we got that insight. And I'm not saying you have to do that again.
No,
I'm not saying exactly what he needs to share. I can't be the guy who determines how much of Isaiah Rashad's personal life he wants to share with us. I'm just saying anything. Like, it would have just been nice to, considering you've talked about how kind of crazy the last 5 years would be. It would have been nice if some of that reflection or what happened or what you went through or just anything made the album. You don't have to. I just think that's something that, especially with TDE artists and specifically, that this is something I've grown to get used to, is them being really good at self-reflection and turning experiences into music. So like, again, the album's still great. I still love all the songs. I'm hoping we probably should wrap it up soon, because we didn't even get to half my favorite songs. But it's still a great album.
Yeah, we can hit.
I wish I had more.
Can we please talk about R.I.P. Young, please?
We did discuss. We could talk about, like, we can give our because I know we gotta wrap up because people gotta leave and stuff like that. But we can talk about like our final thoughts on it and give our final scores if that's cool.
Yeah, and in that final thought, if there's any songs you want to shout out, you can get it.
Yeah.
Alex, why don't you go first?
Yeah.
Hey man, love the album. Love Isaiah Rashad. We're gonna rage at this concert. R.P. Young is my favorite song right now, but I'm very grateful. What a time to be alive. That's all I gotta say.
Oh,
Feel you.
sorry. We do scores 1 to 10. 10 being amazing, nothing better than it, the best thing I've ever heard, and 1 being you should have kept this in the drafts.
I'm appreciate this album for what it is. I'm gonna give it a 10 because I appreciate it. I appreciate
Maybe
it.
our first 10 on this
not,
podcast.
I'm not gonna
Hey,
go
I
too
gave it
crazy.
10 last time.
I'm gonna take it for what it is, and for right now, just because I like the project, I'm not gonna criticize it too harsh. He's an artist. He did his thing. I got the music. I'm gonna rage at the concert. That's all I asked for, man. That's all I asked for.
Perfect. Alex Asifo with the 10. The house is burning. Chanel, come on, hit us with this, Chanel.
Okay, so I have to shout out 3 songs: R.I.P. Young, Headshots, and True Story. Those songs are phenomenal. Some of my favorite songs on the album that we haven't discussed. I'm gonna give this like an 8.5. Like I said, I didn't necessarily like the arrangement of the songs on the album. And there's 2 songs that I'm like, all right, these are kind of skippable, which are Score and Don't Shoot. I just don't listen to that one often. Like I kind of blank out when I hear it. But again, phenomenal album. Beyond excited for all 4 of us to be at the show. Like, I mean, it's gonna be really great because I think when like Lay With You and From the Garden comes out, we're gonna be really hype, like really getting it. It's gonna be great. Great job on the album, Zay. Very excited for it.
Yep.
No, absolutely. Oh, me? Okay. I like this album. I'm just gonna point blank it there. I think it's a phenomenal album. I think it sounds
what you're gonna give
good.
it.
And I think,
No,
for me,
6.5.
no, I'm not. Jesus. I think for me, like there's just too many tracks that like I do love, and I imagine myself going back to a lot, despite the criticism I just gave it 5 minutes ago, for me to like give it anything too bad. Like, so I need to shout out Claymore. I love that song. I don't feel like enough people are talking about it. Claymore is my ish. Shout out Smino. Didn't miss again. All the singles are great. I didn't feel bad not getting into every song because half of them, like a good quarter of the songs are singles, and we've talked about them already. But I just, love Dark Side, love From the Garden, love What You Said, love 9-3 Freestyle, love Claymore, like I said. Alex, we're going to see you later. Thank you for joining us, but he has to hop off because the man is booked and busy.
Of course. Thanks for being on, Alex. For sure, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
Nice
me.
meeting you, Alex.
Y'all. Good seeing you as well. I'll see y'all soon. September 11th. Let's get it popping.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But okay, so all that to say, I think I'm gonna give the album an 8.5.
Do it.
Oh.
I'm giving it an 8.5, and I'm doing.
Wait, what'd you say?
8.5, and I'm doing it because I can't. No, as much as I criticize it for the lack of substance, I still can't deny that I enjoy every single song. And there's not a song that I think sounds bad. And that does hold a lot of weight. I think this easily could have got like a 9 for me or higher if I had that added layer of like substance and self-reflection. But right now, I think the way I'm feeling is at 8.5.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm actually
I
shocked.
kind of want to go to an
I'm
8, but I feel like I already said
actually.
8 now. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I have to give it an 8. I have to give it an 8.
That's cool too. That's cool too.
I'm gonna hit it with the nice solid Christian 8. That's what we're gonna do.
A Christian 8.
A Christian 8.
8. Christian 8.
Spiritual 8.
Okay, that's a
Noah?
solid score.
We want to know. We want to know your thoughts. The true,
So-
like the OG Isaiah Rashad stan here.
Oh my God. So with this album, I was obviously really, really excited with it, and I was really, really happy with what I got. I pretty much enjoy every song, although there's songs that aren't one of my favorites. Like personally, I know a lot of people love Claymore. That's not one of my favorites. It's still a good track, just not one of my favorites, but still a good track. There's not a bad track on this album. Not one bad track, but I think Isaiah Rashad sounds great on this per usual. He's mumbling through a lot of songs, which is perfect because he sounds great on those songs. The one big criticism I have for this album, and it's still a good album, I still love it. I'm still gonna listen to it like crazy. But the one big criticism on it is he's not really rapping like that on this album, which is okay, which is fine because we talked about how we love him mumbling through tracks. But the thing that made me fall in love with Isaiah Rashad was his rapping skill and his lyrical ability. Because if you hear songs like Webby Flow, songs like Sylvia Demo, songs like R.I.P. Kevin Miller, songs like Soliloquy, those are for you love those songs because of his bars, you know, what he's rapping about, you know what I'm saying? What's Wrong? Like, he had a song with Kendrick Lamar and his verse was just as good as Kendrick Lamar, although Kendrick is incredible on that song. Titty and a Dollar, like, he has songs where he has incredible verses, which he doesn't really have a verse on here other than the last 2 tracks where he's like, wow, he was really spitting on there. And From the Garden, but that's more of just like a hype track. But he doesn't have songs where he's really like spitting and showing off his lyrical ability, which I was tiny bit disappointed because I thought he was going to do that. But it seems like he's leaning more into this vibe, mumbling, kind of singing through it, through the songs, which is still fine, which I still love. Some of my favorite tracks on here are Dark Side. I still love Dark Side. It's still one of my favorite songs. I can't stop replaying that song. R.I.P. Young, I think is incredible. True Story. 9-3 Freestyle is one of my hypest songs. Me and Chanel talk about that song a lot. And the last 2 tracks. So, yeah, man. So Isaiah Rashad, you came with a great album. I'm so happy he's back. I'm so happy he's doing well personally. It seems like he's really happy. It feels like he's in a great headspace. And I am going to give this album an 8.5.
You know, but no, my thing is, you know, now I want to rethink my score because I'm like, how do you know if he's happy in a good headspace? He didn't tell us in the music. You just assuming because it's a relaxed vibe. Maybe he had, for all we know, he could have.
No, I'm not. I'm reading. I'm going.
Deadline.
I'm going
off the album. Nah.
I'm going off the album, and I'm going based off his interviews and stuff like that. He's like, I'm in a great headspace. I went to rehab. I'm doing great. This is me being happy. This is me making, you know, kind of this. Me and my friends would vibe to this kind of music. He's like, he's sober. He said he did this album sober.
I know. So you gave it an 8.5, right?
8.5, yes, sir.
Okay, so that means the official.
I was giving it a 10.
The official 97 demo score for this project is a 8.7, which I'm comfortable with, but I believe that still puts Tyler the Creator's album at our highest rate, our highest scored, because I think they got like a 9 point something.
I think.
Yeah, I gave it a 9,
and I didn't give it a 9 too.
But
that makes sense because this is good. But let me tell you what Tyler the Creator did. Tyler gave me good.
Chanel gave it a 10.
I gave Tyler a 10
because he gave me bars.
Well, I think the thing is Isaiah Rashad, we love him. He gave us substance, but go ahead, Chanel.
I think Isaiah Rashad's 10 album for me is Sun's Tirade, because no matter which way we slice and dice this album, Sun's Tirade is just impeccable.
Yeah,
like it's going to
be the perfect blend of both
albums that you're like, it's going to be hard to top this. With Schoolboy, it's blatant.
To me,
like it's just. That's just one of the albums that's like, how do you top that? This, I think,
to me,
is not meant to top not Sylvia's demo, Sun's Tirade, but this is just, it's just supposed to be a great album. And that's what he gave us. He gave us a great album.
Sun's Tirade feels like a perfect blend of like Sylvia demo and kind of like this, what he's doing. Because on Sylvia's demo, I feel like he's the rapping the hardest. He's like really like bars. And, you know, on this one, he's really chill and relaxed. And then in the last one, it feels like he's getting his substance and lyrical ability with the vibey really blending into the music, which is why Sun's Tirade is what it is.
Chanel, you don't know this, but I've already planned. You're going to stick around for the rest of the show because, you're here. And the next headline sort of flows really well into this discussion because we gave this at 8.75. Anthony Fantano gave it at 5.
Well, Anthony Fantano's a hater.
Okay, but no, wait.
I'm kidding. It was a joke. Anthony.
No, wait. He is kind of a hater, but we got love for Anthony Fantano on this pod. But I think it's cool because Isaiah Rashad responded to him, and I think this his specific criticism. So basically, I watched the Fantano review, and his whole thing was there just wasn't enough to carry this album. He was like, the features are oftentimes Isaiah Rashad gets kind of left out of the conversation because the production's either really good or the features are good. But Isaiah Rashad himself, his individual performance, you don't get that much from it. I'm not sure I completely disagree with that.
He hated the singles. He didn't like any of the singles.
Yeah, I'm not sure I completely disagree with that. I just think Fantano was way more critical of it than I was. Like, I wasn't. I still think it sounded good.
He hated Headshots. That is the best song on the album. I don't care what anybody says. Headshots is the best song, and it's a great song. He hated Headshots because I didn't see this. Like, I don't think y'all sent it in the Twitter chat, so I missed it.
Well, you can watch the review, but essentially he ended up. Nnamdi, do you want to keep going? He essentially gave the album a 5.
Yeah,
he gave the album a 5.
I saw that in the title.
It's not experimental enough to excite
And
him. Basic
essentially,
wait, this is the response. Sorry. God, keep on going. I forgot. Sorry.
No, you're good. Essentially, he gave it a 5, and like a lot of people, especially Isaiah Rashad, said, you know, it's not experimental enough to excite him, basic enough to make him laugh, and too black for him to identify. My public persona isn't something to deconstruct. He doesn't have much. I can't see that last part. That's a Google ad. Yeah,
Sorry, that's like ridiculous.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And you know, a lot of people from other TD camps said something. From like Punch said something. He basically essentially said like, you know, he doesn't have the credibility to, you know, talk about black music. He criticizes black music and stuff like that, and it created a big you know, thing on Twitter, especially within TDE. So
But
yeah.
Can I just say my one issue with this, and even the response to this, as someone who reviews music like us, we've not liked albums before, and as an artist, I just feel like once you put your music into the public sphere,
It's meant to be.
That's how you make your money. That is how you get your bag. You're open to criticism.
Oh yeah,
you know, and I think attacking Anthony Fantano's like credibility and all that stuff because he wasn't feeling this album is unfair, because hey, you don't have to feel this album. The album has gotten almost universal acclaim from almost every other publication. It has like an 85 on Metacritic right now. Anthony Fantano's 5 isn't going to make anyone sleep or sleep less, you know? Yeah. And I thought this response of it's not experimental enough to excite him, basic enough to make him laugh, and too black for him to identify. My public persona isn't something to deconstruct, so he doesn't have much to review. I'm guessing it's just reviews, if anything. Like, I just feel like it's weird. I appreciate Isaiah Rashad for defending his work, but I just think it's weird to attack someone with that way, like that much, just because they gave your album a 5. You know, especially it wasn't like he's not like he's attacking Isaiah Rashad's character or anything.
I agree. And Anthony Fantano tweeted, he said he has the right to feel mad and offended. It's personal. You know, music is personal to people. Isaiah Rashad, he makes music for himself. He has the right to be, you know, to feel bad and be mad that he got a bad score. But Anthony Fantano also has the right to be like, I don't like it. He's not attacking him personally. He's attacking the music. And also the fact that Punch said, you know, why are we giving credence essentially? I don't have the exact quote.
I'm trying to find it because I know what you're talking about.
It's in the article. It's in the article.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But yeah, it's in the article if you go down. But he essentially says like, why are we giving credence to like somebody reviewing black music?
I didn't even see this response.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go keep going down. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna wait for you to get to it. You know, it's going slow for me.
Is it this? How do you prepare to listen?
Okay. No, go up. Exactly. How do you prepare to listen? It's just curious because the black experience in music is pretty nuanced. Just wondering how you go about it.
And this is BS. I'm sorry. This is BS.
And I get it, but like Fantano, he's reviewed plenty of artists who create really black music, and he's loved those albums. So I don't think it's fair to be like, oh, just because you didn't like this, you don't have credence to like review rap, which is black music. I get it. Like he's enjoyed plenty other albums from black artists, including TDE artists. So and I'm not like, I think Fantano has the right to not like album or anything.
This whole thing though really turned me off. So I'll go because I'm just gonna rant. You go. You go first.
You are. I mean, I kind of get both sides though, because like, what gives anybody the right to really critique anybody's music, us included? You know,
we're listeners. Really we buy it. That's the only right we have or we need. We're listeners of your music.
No. I'm just saying, like, what gives somebody the right to say, oh, like something that you put out isn't good enough? Like, nobody really has the right to do that. But at the same time, you do have a right to your opinion. Now, it's like, I really do get both sides, because if you're putting on an album, something that you really worked hard on, that means a lot to you, and somebody else comes in and says, oh, like, you know, you're not experimental enough for me. Like,
he didn't say that. He didn't say that though.
No, I'm just saying in general. Like,
he didn't say it.
I'm just saying, I get why an artist, if you get like a bad, like if somebody critiques you, I can understand why you would not like that. But at the same time, people have a right to feel how they want to feel about music. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong in this instance, but at the same time, like, I know if it's me and my friends, when my friends puts out work, like I have a friend who's a writer. If she were to put out work and somebody were to come in her comments saying like, I'm gonna give this a 5, I would be all up and mad, up in arms. Who are you? Like, why are you here? You don't deserve to be here. You're not even da 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 da. So I do get both sides. I really genuinely do get both sides. I think he's crazy for thinking this is a 5. That's my thoughts on it. But like, he can say really whatever he wants to say. Because I mean, not again, like I didn't see this, so I'm kind of just going based off of what I'm able to skim while Nnamdi's scrolling. But like, did he come at his Black experience in any kind of way?
No. The review was very much so just that, like, he was very relaxed. That's the vibe, but I don't think that was like enough to carry the whole thing. The production wasn't great. The features sort of outweighed him on some of the things, and nothing really stood out as feeling like memorable to me. There was nothing of like the Black, you know, he's not rapping Black enough, or he needed to do more this or that. It was a 5-minute review. And I just like they just came out Fantano because he has a base. He's very respected and he has a large base. But this is like just diminishing him, like Isaiah Rashad saying he's not employed by a magazine. He literally chooses to make money by getting views off hate bombing people. It's poor journalism too. Stop being bitter because someone doesn't like your work. And I say that because it's one thing if the reviewer is being malicious, right? And I understand that if you're attacking a character, you're just saying this is just trash. Like, this is just, throw that stuff away. But that's not what Fantano is doing. He's letting you know his legit notes on why he doesn't think this was his favorite album. You don't have to agree with that, but I don't think you should attack him because this comes with the territory of making music. Like, if you are making music, releasing that music for public consumption to make money, within that is the right to your criticism just comes to that territory.
But then I guess on the
have the
flip
right
side,
to share opinions.
You then have the right to defend your work against that criticism.
Absolutely.
But let me
tell you the difference. Fantano didn't attack Isaiah Rashad's character. Isaiah Rashad and Punch attacked Fantano's character. He's not employed by a magazine. He chooses to make money by getting views off hate bombing people. It's poor journalism.
That's not true. He don't hate bomb people.
That was an attack. You're not attacking the review and saying, I think you misunderstood the album. I think perfect example, that 97 demo, when we posted on Twitter that we didn't get Spillage Village, that we didn't understand, what that album was, we didn't get like why it was called
Spillagian,
like I didn't get the religious connection. They responded, I think Jid specifically responded to our tweet and was like, hey, that's not really what the focus of the album is supposed to be, little bros. Like, it's just about, how we're all connected as humans, da. That's how you can, respond to a reviewer. And we respected that. We were like, oh, thank you so much. We still love the album. Thank you for clarifying. If you want to attack what I'm reviewing you for, attack the points I make. Don't then just attack me as a person, because I didn't do that to you. I didn't attack. Anthony Fantano did not attack Isaiah Rashad. So I just thought this was like a really crappy, just show of force from TDE as a whole. Because like I respect them too much to watch them target a reviewer who just has a YouTube account.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I will say though, like I can get it. I'm not saying that they're right. I'm just saying I get it, because if you do put your heart and soul into something and then somebody says it's not this enough for me, that could feel like a personal attack. I think Nnamdi, like, just because I said, I have, one of my best friends is a writer, and when she writes, she puts her all into her writing. Like, it is very much so personal. Like, this is a personal thing. So maybe like, I'm just saying, like, you can't necessarily tell Isaiah Rashad how to feel, because he might feel very personally connected to it, and that's why it could feel like a personal attack. Also, who knows, like within TDE, they might already dislike this guy. They might already feel like he's like that. Like, he might already have that reputation within like the music industry. Like, artists may already feel like that about this guy. So that way, when he finally came at Isaiah Rashad, who's finally sober, who's putting out albums and doing interviews saying like, this is the album that says I'm good, and then he gives it a 5. Oh no, who are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could very much so that could be the landscape here. So I was gonna say, like, if your job is to criticize, you're a critic, like you give good scores, you give bad scores, then at that same time, you are allowed to be criticized yourself. I'm not saying they should have come at his character. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, as an artist, you then have the right to defend yourself in some sort of way. And you're allowed to say, you know what? No, you're wrong because of X, Y, and Z. And this and that and da-da-da-da-da. So I'm saying Isaiah Rashad did have, I'm not saying he went about it the right way or the way that I would have gone about it.
The thing is, he didn't go about the way you're saying he should have gone about it.
No, like I said, I don't necessarily think that he should have come at dude's character like that. but that's how he felt, and he has the right to feel that way, the same way that whatchamacallit, Fantano has the right to feel his kind of way. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, if we're talking about the right to do stuff, Isaiah Rashad had the right to do what he did as well. I'm not saying I would have done it, and I'm not saying I think it's correct, but he had the right to do it.
I think, we don't have to stay too long on this. I think both points are fair.
Yeah, I got you.
If anything, this all just raises Fantano's profile, because if you're a reviewer powerful enough to get both the head of a label and the actual artist to reply to you via Twitter, I'm gonna listen to what you got to say. That's just that's how I felt.
Fantano got millions of. Fantano is like a huge YouTube. I mean, he interviews huge people. Like, he just interviewed Lil Nas X the other day. Like, dude's like he's basically like the god of YouTube music reviews. So he's sort of exactly for of like, yeah, exactly.
And I
music reviews on YouTube. So
crazy for giving this album a 5.
That I can agree with. I don't think this album's a 5 by any stretch, but I think he's entitled to that. But for our next headline,
he's 100% entitled to feel how he feels about this album. 100%. Yeah. We went.
I disagree. Yeah, I disagree with that totally. Yeah.
But speaking of albums in general, or lack thereof, albums, Donda's still not out. Kanye West, for the second week in a row, did a huge production at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Also, a question I have: who is paying for this? Who's paying for this? Because I just know a label cannot be paying for this huge production just for this man to delay the release of the album every week. Because no, I don't feel excited anymore. I feel annoyed. I feel tricked. I feel bamboozled. I know Kanye has been called a perfectionist before, and this has happened in past weeks. Apparently, he tweaks and fine tunes and changes and all this stuff. But like, at a certain point, just keep it in the drafts and like, don't tease if it's not ready. That's at least how I feel.
I'm really not gonna lie. I think Kanye does stuff like this on purpose, because people are going to keep talking about it. Like, people are gonna keep looking for it. Like, I do think that there is strategy to him, like, delaying stuff, and like, everybody is always like, oh yeah, Kanye's acting crazy, so an album must be coming out. Like, I do think that there is some strategic leverage to the things that he does in the eyes of, oh yeah, I'm a perfectionist. Oh yeah, I'm fine tuning. Like, at the same time, like, we're kind of, like, you're getting more talk, like, people are talking about it more.
But he's done this before and it's hurt him. Like, I remember The Life of Pablo, he did something similar. And even though I think time has really helped that album, when The Life of Pablo first dropped, people weren't saying it was a masterpiece. They were saying he did all this waiting just to give us this. People thought it was mid at the time. Like, again, I think it's aged really, really well. But I just hope, this has to just be great. That's how I feel. Like, you're doing all this, it needs to be great. It's your legacy.
It's just interesting because Kanye has never once come out and actually said anything, like whether this album's coming out. It's definitely from all these, like, that one Twitter guy, whatever his name is. He's like the Kanye correspondent, essentially, for this album.
There's been reporting, and they get it from labels. Like, a label will put out, or iTunes. True. Like, in this case, Complex is reporting that iTunes is now showing that Donda will be out on August 13th. Album music listed as the August 15th. I don't know why there's 2 different dates, but I guess next week is what that's saying. This one, I just think we have to just wait for the album to actually drop before we believe anything. Like, I'll totally believe it when I hear it.
We'll see.
And then also, how much of this is like a label saying, yeah, we're gonna have it by this date, and how much like is Kanye pacifying it? Like, who knows? Kanye could be like, nah, I'm not gonna release this until December.
I think that's exactly what it is.
And the label is like, no, we need this released like next week.
I think that's what it is. But hey, Donda was supposed to come out July 2020. Never forget. So
yeah,
listen,
we've been waiting for a while.
Honestly, that's not something I was really ever excited about. I thought the video of him in the ceiling was weird. Kanye's very weird to me at this point. Like, just.
Well, and good news.
Yeah. This is like
good news. Somebody's actually releasing something. Yeah, Aaliyah's music is finally on streaming. Coming this year.
Yeah, Aaliyah's music will soon be on streaming platform. It's been unavailable, just I think anywhere, like both on iTunes or streaming for longer than a decade, because her uncle, who owned Blackground Records, which owned the masters to these albums, as well as like JoJo's original music and like a couple other albums that are in the R&B sphere. has finally inked a deal to release them. The interesting thing about this is Aaliyah's estate, which I assume is her family, is still against this because there apparently has been a big controversy over the fact that, you know, her uncle is the one who actually has the say because he owned the music, but her family's been very protective and guarded of her personal image. And I'm assuming maybe they were trying to ink a deal where they had some money, you know, they would create like a charity fund or something. Maybe they did something of that nature because their statement sort of implied, you know, we wanted to, you know, Aaliyah's full legacy to be reflected on this. And she always heard about helping people sort of thing. And, you know, implying that this deal wouldn't do that. But yeah, the album's finally going to be available on streaming platforms. I have two things. I wonder if Normani's Wild Side thing encouraged them to like fast forward to this. 'Cause a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this is a more," you know, they said they referenced one of the songs.
Money Grab.
No. They said Wild Side reference more than a woman or one in a million.
One in a million.
One in a million.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those two songs. And I found a lot of people on Twitter didn't know what that song was, and they couldn't listen because it's not available on streaming platforms. So it's like, I think this will help, but I just wonder if you think that had something to do with the decision.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
But also, I wonder because, like, I know that there was talks about like Faces by Mac Miller being on streaming services as well. So like, I wonder like what kinds of conversations are just being had about like people's music being available like posthumously, you know what I mean?
That's different to me because like Face was like a mixtape originally.
No, I know, but I'm just saying like what if there is a push and I just don't know where it's coming from.
Oh no, I got you, but like Mac Miller's Faces you can still download. Like Aaliyah's music you can't listen to anywhere. Like unless you illegally download off YouTube or something, like you can't listen to it anywhere. This is a totally different thing than something like this is music that has been released. Like obviously it was a while ago, but it was music that's been released. People have bought albums, people have bought records, and it's not on streaming for people to go back and listen to and enjoy her music. I understand, and I'm not gonna act like I totally understand what it's like for a family. Like, you know, obviously this is her legacy and stuff like that. But we talked about this on the posthumously released albums like a discussion. We talked about, you know, this music that she was a part of and live for. This is her legacy. That's what she left. This music is supposed to live forever, and it's not living forever because people aren't able to listen to it. People who weren't alive to like really experiencing that. Like, obviously I know who Aaliyah was. I know songs. Like I know who she is, but I haven't been able to like go back and be like, oh, this album is that good. Like you don't really get that feeling because you haven't been able to listen to it. And that's one of the best things about streaming. You get to go back and listen to the history of music, and with her you can't, which it sucks. So hopefully, I think it's a good thing, but I don't want her family to like they see it as a negative. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm not gonna act like I know everything about it. So, but
and this guy in general, her uncle Barry Hankerson, I have very mixed feelings about him just because he like basically held hostage a whole bunch of like musicians' catalog. Like again, I told you, I know JoJo was a big one because she had to re-record some of her music, but it was also like Tony Braxton albums, Tank, Timbaland and Magoo. All of these artists have tried to like get their music back and they just couldn't because this guy just like, wasn't for it, you know. And even
for Aaliyah, it hurts.
Yeah.
Because she's not alive to protect herself.
I was about to say Aaliyah's not alive to like fight for her music the same way like JoJo has been fighting for her music.
But even JoJo's tweeted like, when this new music is out, like please stream my re-record so I'm not getting any money based off of that. Like,
wow,
I can leave that alone.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I hope the estate is getting something from this decision. And right now, I'm not sure. Based on their statement and their resistance to this, they are. But either way, like I am grateful Aaliyah's music will finally be on streaming services.
I agree.
Yeah,
let's run through new releases. This is getting long. We had a couple big albums: King Disease 2 by Nas, which I'm really excited about, 333 by Tinashe, and then some new singles, including Take My Breath by The Weeknd. How did you guys feel about any of this?
King Disease is like the number one album that I'm like poised to listen to because Lauryn Hill's on there. She sounded great on there, so I gotta listen to the rest. So I'm really hopeful about this album. Hopefully, I really like the first King Disease. Nnamdi, you love that album from last year. You love that album. I think it's really good. So I'm excited to hear that. And obviously The Weeknd, obviously he's back. It feels like already it's like, dang, you back? I'm surprised.
He never let us have a break.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a thing for like, because I don't know if this is like an album, because wasn't this like tied to like what brand is it tied to? I forgot. I don't know. Maybe it was tied to something, but I don't know if it's an album behind this. I don't know if it's a promotional thing. We'll see, but I'm kind of surprised because he's still gonna do his tour next year for the last album. So he comes out with another album. That's
according to Wikipedia, it's the lead single from his 5th studio album. So I'm actually very excited because I didn't realize he was coming out with something that, like, I guess it has been more than a year since After Hours dropped.
I guess COVID just messed up a lot of things in terms of like tours and stuff.
Can one of y'all please go to his tour with me? Like, please.
Go to what?
I want to go to his tour. Can someone go?
You know why I'm not going? Because you know why I'm not going there? Because we looked at the prices for Tyler's tour, and if Weekends is any indication of how expensive tours are going to be, I'm not going. So, because Tyler's tour tickets were $200 plus, and Weekends a bigger artist.
Wait, what city did you look?
Chicago. So imagine New York.
And I looked at the DC show.
Ooh.
So imagine New York for the Weekend, who's like one of the biggest pop stars in the world. Those tickets gonna be.
I'm gonna be in the nosebleeds. I've decided I would drive
Isaiah
somewhere.
Rashad
I'd go to like
Atlanta.
$48. I was actually gonna check DC to see if it's cheaper because New York tickets are just ridiculous. But that, this is another conversation. The Weeknd's getting into his Michael Jackson bag. I saw a clip yesterday of Michael Jackson in the 80s specifically, and like right around or like late 70s 80s when he was like in his like 30s ish or kind of late 20s early 30s and like dark skin, super suave, like R&B back. And The Weeknd is giving me such strong elements of that with this, like starting from After Hours to now, to like how he's dressed and how he looks, and it's so clear that he's inspired by Michael Jackson as far as like how he sings and it's sort of his performances. He can't dance like him, but still like the other stuff. So I'm really interested to see what this new era is going to bring. I also think it's interesting that it looks like he's officially not in his R&B bag. Like he's now pop The Weeknd.
He's a pop star all the way.
I saw I saw a tweet like yesterday, and somebody was like, "Oh, The Weeknd's doing coke with black girls now."
Oh yeah,
I saw that. Yeah,
that actually really took me out. Like
that excites me.
Yeah.
We're excited Weeknd. Victoria Monet.
I haven't listened to this Rico Nasty, but I'm excited about that. That I'm gonna put on once we get off. I love Rico.
Yeah, Rico's great. And Coastin' by Victoria Monet. That was one of the best R&B albums last year. Nnamdi, especially you. You love Victoria Monet. We all love her, but you really love Victoria Monet.
Oh, her album Jaguar, right?
Yeah, Jaguar, her album last year. So
yeah, I love that. I haven't listened to this new song, but I would definitely want to check it out.
So yeah.
What I have listened to SUVs by Jack Harlow and Pusha I See. That sounded nice. No, that was the song I was playing that you were like, oh,
yeah, that was good.
I haven't listened to this. I haven't listened to this Phineas song, but anything he puts out, I'm a fan of. Contra 6 months from now, so I'll let y'all know next week how I feel about that. And then of course, Lady Gaga put out a jazz song with Tony Bennett. I get a kick out of you, and it's a good song. Jazz isn't my thing, but it's a good song.
That's my thing, so I might check it out.
So Lady Gaga is your thing, Nam?
Excuse me, what are you talking about?
What?
Nnamdi's a Lady Gaga stan.
I was gonna say,
I wouldn't say I'm a stan. I mean,
yes, you are.
Oh,
no, you're a
my
stan.
gosh, and he's also not a fan of Cardi B.
Billboard,
move on.
Billboard highlights. Y'all trying to put labels on me and stuff. I'm only a stan of God. How about that? Okay.
Please go home.
People love to say that.
I'm not even gonna open the things. Billboard highlights. BTS is still number one. They've been number one on the Hot 100 for about 8 weeks now. Industry Baby debuted at number 2, but I think it speaks to the power of BTS that Butter in its 9th week still beat Industry Baby despite all that press from Lil Nas X and Jack Harlow, some arguably 2 of the biggest in the game right now. So I think that sort of underscore the power that that song and this group has right now, the grip they have on American pop culture, that they are still number one despite Industry Baby coming out and all that press and controversy.
Yeah.
Over on the Billboard 200, Kid Laroi, F Love. Apparently this is a deluxe, apparently this is like the deluxe of a deluxe that came out last year. Never heard of it. I was trying to figure out why this song was number one, but it said it had 56 weeks on the chart. And it's because the first album came out last year. The deluxe of the first album came out last summer. And this is now a deluxe of that deluxe.
What?
That has come out.
Okay.
That has come out 2 weeks ago. So F Love Kid Laroi, the third release of this. I guess that's the new strategy.
That's interesting.
These days.
I didn't even know that triple deluxes? What would we call that? What is that called?
I don't even know. I guess it's called the new generation of America.
Yeah, he had an album last year, and then he had an album. What the heck? This is so confusing.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, like maybe that's a new industry trick. Maybe we'll have Eli Ennis on again to talk about what the industry is trying to do to get more streams now. But and then nothing's changed. Sour is still number 2. Planet Her by Doja Cat still number 3, and then Dangerous by Morgan Wallen still number 4. Pop Smoke rounding out the top 5 with Faith. Predictions.
Okay, I know. Sorry, I know.
No,
like,
go on.
We're tight on time. Does Planet Her ever like not work for y'all? Like some songs, and it's the same like 2 songs, I think. They won't play past like 14 seconds and like 21 seconds. Like it's really weird. And I'm like, I don't know if this is just a me thing, but like,
you need to call Spotify about that.
Oh, Apple Music, but yeah.
Oh, that explains your problem right there.
Yeah, like it's just like the songs just won't play all the way through, and I'm like,
it's funny. I've never had that issue on Spotify. I don't know.
I don't have that issue on Apple Music, so
I honestly don't listen to I don't listen to the
just
album
be
enough
my
to really be fair.
yeah. So
But-
I don't know.
For the predictions for when the chart updates again, I believe next week, Billie Eilish is expected to score her second number 1 with 234,000 sold first week, which is pretty big.
Great album.
Significant, great album. And then Isaiah Rashad is expected to hit the top 10 at number 7,
That's big.
which I don't know if that's a peak for him, but that is good.
It gotta be.
And I'm very
gotta be.
excited about that.
It gotta be. Yeah. I'm glad Isaiah Rashad's getting.
getting his flowers.
Yeah, I feel like he's growing more and more. Before it was like, oh, 19,000. I feel like he's like, I think I said something that said 44,000, and I think he has the number 1 rap album, so it's gonna be the number 1 rap album. That's good for Isaiah Rashad. Good for him. Really happy for him.
Okay, Chanel. So you're gonna go last. We start thinking about a project of the week. Some of the listeners that you liked. Real quick, projects of the week. Mine is Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish. This album's really good. I don't often. There's not a lot of pop music that I like. Typically, I'll find like an artist I like or an album I like and just stay hooked on that for a long time. A lot of the Lady Gaga references you heard earlier, but this Billie Eilish project is really good. It's like really good, and I think for a sophomore album too. Like I often say, your first album is like important, but your second album is even more important because that kind of paints the picture of longevity. And I think she killed that. I think she's proved that she's here to stay, and it's just such a strong album. It's like the fact that her and her brother can like just sit down and make this is like the most insane thing in the world to me, especially with how just deep and insightful some of the lyrics are. And you forget that she's like literally 18, I think. Like she's very young still, if that. Like she may be 17, I don't know. But so that's
I think she's like 19.
Not young.
Yeah, she's like, I think she's like 18, 19, something like that. It sounds about right. Yeah, Happy There by Billie Eilish is great. Okay, my project of the week is Mood Valiant by Hiatus Coyote. I've been seeing this album around a lot on Twitter, on YouTube, in terms of people reviewing it, people liking it. This is some people's album of the year. I was like, who the heck is this? It said alternative, but it's not alternative. It's more R&B-ish, honestly. And I freaking love this album. This is Mood Valiant. Hiatus Coyote is the R&B band from Australia. Yeah, and there's only one lead singer. I don't know all their names yet, but
yeah,
I was shocked how much I love their work. I went back, I downloaded all the albums. They have 3 albums. This is the 3rd one, and it's freaking incredible. This is a contender for my album of the year, legitimately.
Really?
I freaking love this album. I know I just had Isaiah Rashad. Isaiah Rashad's up there for me, but I freaking love this album. It's been like a week, so like maybe I'm just too excited. That happens, but I might come back 3 months like I still like it, but it's not my favorite album. But I really love this album. So Mood Valiant by Hiatus Coyote. It's an incredible piece of work. The singing, the production, it's more instrumentation, not really producing. It's like a band in the background. So it's incredible.
Chanel, this is last minute, but do you have any projects that have caught your eye or ear over the last week?
Do they have to be new, or can it be something?
No,
that,
anything, literally anything.
So I've actually been listening to The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance when I'm not listening to Isaiah Rashad's album. So that's my project of the week. It was
That's
one
so
of my
perfect.
favorite. Huh?
That's so perfect because that's like some Avery would do.
That's an Avery pick, yeah.
That's an Avery pick. It's like Avery's here. Avery's living through you, Chanel.
Yeah, I was
Text me
like,
2
I
songs,
really
that's
got deeply like back into it. Just been trying to get back on my like alternative like rock grind.
Wow, you literally are Avery.
Yeah.
Dope.
Well, that's dope. I'm sorry. I don't
Are
know
you
why I started
eating,
eating.
Nnamdi?
That's so unprofessional. I was hungry. I'm sorry.
Are you eating on the pod? Oh my god.
thought I'd
You
be
can hear
done
Nnamdi
chewing.
smacking.
I thought I'd be
The
done chewing by
Chinese,
the
like,
time.
did I see chopsticks? Like, bruh's really going in.
I'm eating a far. Don't do that.
Okay.
Wow.
Anyway.
Because you know my mom would come on talking about, ooh, got a little big.
You say.
For people listening, that's the inside joke.
Could you? You just couldn't
yeah.
wait to eat.
Almost
people
forgot we
listening.
were on a podcast.
Yeah, that's an inside joke. People are like, what are they
Sorry,
talking
but
about?
okay. You know, at that one, this has been a long hour and a half episode. Chanel, thank you so much for joining us this week. Alex Acifo, thank you for joining us this week. We appreciate having both of you guys provide your insight and perspective, and I can't wait for us to go to this concert next month. It will be great.
We'll have to do like a video montage and like drop that on social or something about.
Ooh.
You're hired.
Little do the viewers know.
Hired. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this week. Feel free to follow us on all of our socials at the 97 Demo. Stream our podcast. If you're already doing that, but tell your friends to do it at 97 Demo on all platforms. And y'all have really been rocking with us the last couple of weeks. Our view counts have kind of really been increasing. So keep up that energy. Keep on telling your friends. And we'll see you next week. Oh, I'm recording this week. I have to hit the button. Sorry.
Bro, Morgan.